welcome. Thank you for joining. I am Latoya Henry, and I'm so excited to bring you a series of conversations called How's She Do It? I'm bringing you some amazing people who share how they get, keep, and preserve their joy. So often we see the end product, we see beauty, we see success, and we may learn about their business growth, but not necessarily about their personal side. Today, I have the twirling brunch queen herself, Michelle Sprott, aka the Brunchnista. What I really wanted to talk to you about today is just you're always so bubbly and so you're always down for a twirl and you're always just so upbeat. And I just really wanted to find out from you, how do you just stay so positive in general? I know that brunch is definitely one of the major ways that you do it, but how else do you stay so positive?
Well, I'm not always bubbly. That's the tea, right? It's, like when I'm outside, definitely I've made a conscious effort and decision to say I'm going out. So when I'm going out, I'm definitely going to bring my best foot forward. But I'm not always, happy, and I'm not always bubbly. And I have my days where I don't feel as great. I'm a woman, and, all that goes into that. But when I do begin to feel that way, I kind of recognize it in myself, and I know the things that I have to lean into to pull me out of that. So allowing myself the space to feel whatever I'm feeling in that moment, but also saying to myself, there's a time limit on how long you're going to be in this space is really important for me. And, then also leaning into the things that I know make me happy. And so I allow myself the room to be in a funk or be sad or whatever. And then you put the same amount of energy that I've allowed myself to be in that funk to turn it around. Right. Mm-hmm. So now, we're on the other side of sad. Are we going to stay in the house? No, because usually I find, if you're sad or whatever, the first thing you do is recluse to your bed, your apartment, stay in your room or whatever, and you just avoid social interaction. So I know for myself that the one thing that can make me happy and make me smile is one, going out to eat with my friends and interacting and having a good time. Like, there's no way that I can continue to be in a funk if I'm around my friends and I'm eating and I'm drinking and I look cute. Like, that's just not going to happen for me. I'm not going to put on a full face of makeup, a wig and lashes, eyebrows, cute outfit, and then still be sad. Like, as soon as I start doing that, I mean, you can feel the little perk, you're curling the hair. You're like, ooh, that looks right. Good. You putting on the lipstick. You're like, ooh, I just came to life. You put on your little dress. You're like, yes, we with it now. So all those things, that you do, they're just, we don't think about them as being intentional, but they are. And all those things help me to get out of my funk. And so if you hear me call you, it's also therapy for me. I'm bringing you because I'm like, well, if I need it, I know she probably needs it too.
Yeah.
So we'll do it together.
Yeah. And it's so funny because as you were saying that, it reminded me, I used to do this thing at my house called Shits and Giggles. And it would be maybe twice a year that I would bring, all my friends or, just like a bunch of my friends. I haven't done it in a while, but it started with me feeling down. And I was like, you know what, let me just have some people over. And that was the total pick me up that I needed. So oh my gosh. So, but I think that there's value, sometimes the things that we think are frilly and frivolous. And there are some people who are like, why you're doing the most, or you don't need to do all of that. Like that too. But the frilly and frivolous, when I tell you getting ready for today, just especially during the Rona, because I'm going to be honest with you, I have standard issue sweats, and I haven't always been getting dressed each day, like dressed up. I might be in a t-shirt and jeans or just something real simple, but just getting a dress, pulling a dress out, choosing a dress, doing the nail, like just doing these, putting some lipstick on and all of that. It's so seemingly frilly and frivolous, but those are some of the things that are the pick me up. Like we talk about self-care. Yeah, the visual is also something like when they say you look good, you feel good, they ain't never lied.
Oh.
Right. So you gave us, all right. So you gave us the going out and hanging out with friends. You gave us getting dressed up and getting ready for a twirl. Give us what's one more thing that you do that helps you to get out of the funk, or kind of is a pick me up to you?
Well, this is one that I didn't realize was a pick me up, but it definitely is, and it's soaking in Epsom salts. Yeah, like
okay, you done took it back.
Yeah, like like when I feel like, and sometimes it really just is like I am dehydrated and I'm tired, right? So sometimes you don't really know how your body is reacting to that stuff. It's like sometimes, I realize that I may be feeling away because I am dehydrated. So number one, I'm drinking water. Like whenever I feel like I'm taking that dive, it's like, it's okay. It's time to go get some water. And so with that, I've also included soaking in Epsom salts and taking a soak bath. Because I realized that my body is tired and probably has toxins. And so by doing that, I'm ridding my body of toxins and allowing it to kind of like reset. And so that has been very helpful. And when I can, massages and stuff like that. But the soaking in the bath is something very easy that I could do. I can put up, play a little episode of like Girlfriends and sit in the tub for 30, 45 minutes. And I feel better.
I'm going to add that to my, my house.
You should. It's so good. And it's so easy and it's so cheap. Like a bag of Epsom salts is like $1, I think, or maybe $2. You throw some little bit of lavender oil in there. What is that? Like maybe $5? Like it's so like, and light a candle and sit in the tub. Like,
yes, the luxuriation.
Listen, you created your own little spa situation right in your house.
Ma'am, and I could totally envision you. Oh, I done lost the nail. Wait a minute. I done picked up my head and I lost the nail. We not gonna talk about it. But I can totally envision you because you have this long, like sheer, fluffy with the fur robe. I can totally see you just luxuriating at home after an Epsom salt bath with the tunes on.
Listen, I light a candle. I do the whole nine because look, I have to make myself feel good. Can't nobody else do that for me. And so we're gonna try a couple things and we're gonna stick with the ones that work.
I love it. I love it. So how important is your spirituality, or how important is spirituality in terms of you getting and keeping and preserving your joy?
Yes, definitely. It's super important. I've recently started back with my college friend. Because obviously, this year has been tough for a lot of us in different ways. And so I have my college friend, she calls and we do these Friday night prayer calls, it's group prayer. So that's always a staple for me. Like that's always been something that I lean toward. It's a part of my lifestyle, that, I trust in God and trust, that even things that are not seeming like they're working out, that they are working out for my good, even though I don't know it. And, doors that have been shut, I just ask the Lord to help me accept that, because obviously that was not for me. And so I think at this stage in my life, it's more about leaning into that and listening instead of trying to fight so much. Like when I was younger.
Ooh, say that again.
So much. Like, no. But now when things happen, I'm like, okay, God, I see you. I see, like I may not understand, but I'm like, well, and I'm stubborn too. So he has to do some dramatic things to me sometimes. Right? I'm like, no, I'm the same. And he's like, sis, hi. This is not for you. And I'm going to need you to pack it up very calmly and keep it moving because there's something better, or that just wasn't for you and it's just not a good situation for you to be in. And so I'm learning more and more that when things happen, to allow it and just ask God to get me through it, even though I may not understand it. And usually within, when I'm over being sulky about it and pouting and, wanting the way that I thought it would work out, when I usually get over that, I can see so much more clearly why it had to end, or why it didn't work out the way that I wanted, or why I didn't get what I thought I should have. So it's just being more, I wouldn't say obedient, because obviously if I was more obedient, I wouldn't be in a lot of the situation I find myself in, but just being more understanding that what is for me is always going to be for me. And whatever that is, I won't have to fight or claw my way through it, You know
what? You're preaching a word, because what I'm hearing you say is the power of perspective.
Right.
And you said it earlier, and I thought that was definitely a note to write down, is that you allow yourself the time to feel whatever it is that you want to feel, and then you set a limitation on it. So you're like, okay, I'm gonna feel this for now. I'm gonna give myself a day, and then after the day is up, then I got to keep it moving.
Gotta move, because you can't. What tends to happen, and I know because I've done it, so I can speak from a point of having that experience. And what tends to happen is we go down rabbit holes. Well, why this? And if I had done this, and what happened to this, and maybe if it was like this, and you could spend your whole life doing something like that. And trust me, I've spent a lot of time in my head, going over scenarios and situations and conversations that are pointless. So once you start viewing it in the perspective, and it's hard, it's not easy. I'm not sitting here telling anybody that it's easy to kind of just be like, oh, that wasn't for me and I didn't get it, whatever. It's not easy, it's not. But with my therapist too, like we just had a conversation today, and it's just like, you have to change your thinking. You've got to, like, I think I'm more of the person that kind of is like, well, if it doesn't happen, it wasn't for me. But it's also like, you have to work at some of those things. And if my therapist gave me 3 things to say. She's like, I can't even remember, but it was kind of like, I deserve it and I'm worthy, and that I needed to say those things every single day. And I do believe that, as a worker bee, as somebody who works at the things I want, that's something I'm gonna have to work at. I'm not gonna have to get up every day and just hope it falls on me. Like, I'm gonna have to get up every day and be super intentional about my happiness. I'm gonna have to get up and be super intentional about me understanding my worth. I'm not just going to walk out the door and worth hits me in my face and it's going to be like, woo, girl, now you're worthy. No, it's not going to happen like that. I literally have to have a conversation with myself every day about my self-worth. And so that's the only way that it's going to change. And I think that's important for us. Like, you have to work at the things you want. I think we all know it, but I think through conditioning and probably even religion too, we kind of feel like, oh, if it happens, it happens. So changing that mindset is important.
Well, what you said, which I think is, just so powerful, because what I heard was, there's a level of discernment, right, between what is just the work that needs to be done and when a space is not for you, right? So like, we go through things all the time, and sometimes it's just the challenge of the progress and the work and all that. But then there are other times where it's like, God gives you a gill. Do they still say gill? God gives you a gill, or a slap on the back of the head, like, girl, wake up, just get up out of here, right? Where a space is not for you. So there's a level of discernment. But you also said something of just like, I'm gonna feel the feels, but then I need to just really move on and think things through. And so there was something else that you said, the mantras. Just really speaking life into yourself, and to remind yourself of, I am worthy. I have value. I have, I remember my sister years ago had gotten me this, they had these little cards. And I think that there were maybe enough for the year. So maybe 365 of these cards that had these empowering phrases on them. And I didn't use it for years, right? Well, okay, maybe I shouldn't have said that.
Right.
But eventually I started using it, sister. Eventually I started using it. But I started using it at a time that I needed it. And I would say those, pick up a card, and I would say it to myself every morning. And I did that until I was saying it in my head on my own. So to your point, you just have to be intentional about it all.
There's so many things that I will speak for myself. There's so many things that I thought would just come naturally that don't. And I think a lot of people may feel like me, like if it doesn't come naturally, then it just wasn't meant for you.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the conversation that I had with my therapist today. And it's like, no, actually, you kind of have to program your brain and your mind to think in that way, because you're fighting against how you were raised. You're fighting against things you've told yourself. You're fighting against all these things. And so you have to reprogram that and then combat those things. So it's a lot of work.
It's a lot of work.
Brain work that is not like, for me, like I said, I'm a worker bee. So I like to do things with my hands, and I like to see results with my hands. So like me doing mental work to me isn't something that is like super satisfying, because it's not something tangible that I can touch and be like, you have arrived at the finish line. So it's going to take a little bit more for me in, how I am as a person, but it can still be done. And I am willing at this point. Sis has got to do it. So we gonna do it come hella high water.
And you are doing it. You are doing it. You're in the midst of doing it. And I think that, when you were talking about, what your therapist shared, one of the things that I hear is like, I'm too blessed to be stressed. Right. And so it's kind of like, yeah, I feel you and everything, but sometimes we are stressed. Right. And just because I'm stressed doesn't mean that I'm not blessed, or that I don't believe in God, or that I don't believe in what God has for me. It's just that I may be having these emotions right now. And I don't think that we always learn what we do, or what we need to do. And that's why this series, I think, is so important, to hear from people like you who are so amazing. And, it's like, you're always so bubbly, and you're always so positive, and you're always so, so amazing. And this is the woman that wore tulle on the beach in Jamaica with some red lipstick and lashes and hair, right? Like, you're always so on and just like authentic and organic and so amazing. And it's like, how do you do it, right? We need to know the how, because like the hands-on situation, yeah, you can figure out, I can find some instructions somewhere to get something done, or I can YouTube it and what have you. But this kind of work is, it's so important for us to hear from people like you who are doing it. So I think if I'm getting the recap right, tell me if I missed anything, right? So definitely hanging out with girlfriends, in true Brunchnista form, getting cute, and just taking care of yourself and pouring into yourself, and looking and being your best self.
Yes.
That Epsom salt I think the Epsom salt is going to be like the game changer.
That's a game changer for me. I started doing that. I was like, oh, okay. That and drinking water too. Cause I think, like I said, I learned so many of my dragging feelings and my like pulling down feelings was because I was dehydrated. I travel a lot. And so it dehydrates me very quickly. And that was something I did not know. I didn't know that. And so as soon as I drank more water, I was like, oh, this makes a difference. It's something so simple.
Stay hydrated. Mm-hmm. Stay hydrated.
They say, stay hydrated, mind your business. They mean that. It's real advice. When they are out there talking about drink water, stay hydrated, it's simple. But I'm telling you, it's such a game changer. It's such a game changer.
So stay hydrated.
Stay hydrated.
and have some mantras. And if it may be a box of cards that have their own mantras to pour life into you, or you can create the mantras that you want,
Yes.
and the things that you need individually, like about worthiness, about deserving what you have, about, you know, all those different things. And then of course, spirituality, and staying grounded in that way. So Michelle, you have given us so many pearls today, and just your spirit and your energy is, you know, is the pick me up that I needed today. So so thank you so
Of
much for
course.
joining us.
Of
Yay.
course. I mean, anytime, honored as always. Whenever anyone is like, oh, we want to talk to you, I'm like, me? Oh my God, why? But always honored to share. And, I feel like if someone can relate, it made a difference. If there's one person out there who feels like, they're going through something, and there was anything that we both share a commonality in, and that was your sign to keep going, to keep pressing, and to keep being fabulous.
Well, thank you. I think that's the perfect note to end on. And thank you for joining me for the first How's She Do It? Thank you, Michelle Sprott, aka Brunchnista. You can find her at Brunchnista on Instagram, and www.brunchnista.com.
Thank you so
Yay,
much.
Michelle!